Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second DunnyLitics podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine and a friend for a long time, Collin Russo. Collin, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Not too bad. I think, well, first of all, we should just give a little background. So, we've been friends for a long time. Our dads went to college together, so we kind of met through
Yeah.
there. And I think
Mhm.
that's also important. We're going to be talking about football because Colin works for the University of Cincinnati, and that's also a recent job for him. But I just remember, all those years we used to, watch the Super Bowl together and spend time at each other's house.
Yeah,
So I think it's only appropriate that we talk football together.
I couldn't agree more.
So, yeah, let's just get straight into that. First of all, if you wouldn't mind just telling people, I know you're a nutrition specialist, but what does that exactly entail for a college football program?
Yeah, so first I'll give a little bit of background. So last season, I was a strength and conditioning intern. And then because certain opportunities popped up and given my major being in nutrition and got some certifications in that they opened this door for me because they didn't have anybody working with nutrition for football. So I got to see a lot of the groundwork laid from last season, but a nutrition specialist for me, man, it's just making sure the guys are gaining weight, making sure there's a lot of food options, making sure what they get is more healthy than not. Because I know we get a lot of food catered sometimes, and a lot of time it ends up being fast food because that is the easiest thing to get in bulk. But trying to just you know make sure guys are gaining weight. I know when we played Bama, you could definitely see there was a size difference on the
Mhm.
field. I think playing wise and talent wise, we were definitely right there with them, but size is huge, obviously, when you're on that level and on that stage. So, just trying to help guys actually get to these goal weights that we have. And, some of them got a little bit of ways to go, but we got a whole off season to get there. So,
No, yeah, no, absolutely. And, I guess my first question would be when you say hitting their nutrition goals, obviously you're following, macronutrients, making sure that they're getting, the right amount of calories. But how important is micronutrients with your nutrition training for them?
it's definitely important. I think the hard part is, these are college athletes and they're students first and foremost, but they have so much going on in their daily life with practice, with lifting and classes that it's kind of hard to be on them and say, hey, man, you got to count your calories. Or even if you set them up with like some of the apps out there where all they have to do is like scan a barcode, most of them won't have the time to do that because last thing they want to do when they eat is scan a barcode or something or try to search for the food they ate. So
Hmm.
they are pretty much intaking what we give them, um, kind of blindly, which is sad. So I try to give them with the most information possible. Micronutrients, to be honest, I could probably say that if I were to tell these guys and say that word, and I don't mean this in an offensive any way, I don't know how many of the guys would be like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what those are." Some
Hmm.
might, but I don't think they're so worried about that because they have so much going on. So I'm in control of that. They trust me that what I'm giving them, they need. So I know for the micronutrients, it's super important, especially with their fatigue levels, their hydration levels, and all that. But you know, I can't speak too much on it because they they don't know exactly how much they're getting of each. They just trust me that I'm getting it. So
Hmm.
everything they hear is from me. That they need to be
Yeah,
taking is from me. So they
yeah.
just trust it and they do it. So um, we'll find out here in a month once things have kicked in how important it is. And I know these guys will feel a lot better, especially actually getting their vitamins because that was very scarce last year. It was kind of hit or miss every other day kind of thing. So it'll be an everyday thing this time. So we'll definitely have something to see.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just curious too, because obviously every single athlete's different, and I think that's another important thing too. Like for me, like I track my calories with lifting, but like that's really the only exercise I do. And these people, not people, these players, not only are they in the weight room training like I would, but they're on top of that, they're doing, a lot of conditioning. They're playing a sport, which obviously exerts a lot of energy, a lot of calories. So how does that work specifically when, obviously the diet and the training regimen is going to be different for an offensive lineman than, say, a quarterback. How does that work specifically? How are you able to find like their metabolic rate and just how much nutrients they're supposed to be eating every day?
Yeah, so without trying to get too sciencey, I have all these equations on my laptop and they're in an Excel sheet to where I'm able just to type in their height, their weight, and their age, and it spits out all these numbers that I need to know. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, I don't want them counting their own calories and doing all that stuff. So I do it for them, and
Hmm.
I make sure that their protein right now, because we're in the off season and we're just getting started. We start up next Tuesday.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm looking at it from a standpoint. There's a lot of guys who, over the last week, 2 weeks, they gained some weight, and there's a lot of guys that lost a lot of weight.
Hmm.
Um, so my goal right now is I'm trying to up their protein and minimize their carbs for the beginning of it right now. I want them just to fill up most of their calories with protein, my bad, because we're trying to get them some of them to lean out. And we
Hmm.
want to rebuild and kind of recomp a lot of these guys for at least the first 3 months, making sure they're getting a little bit lean. Because if you're lean, you can play fast, and that's our strength, as we kind of proved last year. If we can play fast, we can be in games, especially
Hmm.
at the highest level. So we're doing that, and then once we start running, that's when I'm gonna ramp up the carbs because that's when they're gonna burn more calories, like you mentioned. So it's trying to take it from a different approach of getting their protein in and make sure that's kind of the staple for the first probably 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's really interesting too, because it's like, a lot of these athletes, their main objective is to go out and play as best as they can. Like you said, a lot of
Yeah.
them aren't consciously thinking about their caloric intake and, how many grams of protein am I getting in, how many grams of carbs, fat, so on. They're just trying to play. So that, that's why they have people like you, so that you can
Yeah.
take care of that for them. But no, I mean, for me, I think that's really interesting. Like, what would you say would be, let's just, I mean, I know it's different for every player, but let's spitball. Like, if you were to
Hmm.
have a linebacker, how many calories typically are they going to be needing to eat daily during the season?
Yeah. So for a linebacker, our goal, so we have a few guys that are underweight, but we want to get them to around 245, 250. So we ideally we're going to get them to 4,000 calories a day before we start running. But for a lot of these guys, they've probably never eaten that much in their entire
Hmm.
life in a day. So it's trying to slowly, gradually get up to that number, not put, hey, boom, here's 4,000 calories in your entire day. Have fun eating it. Because I know that's not going to happen. I know a lot of guys are going to throw it away probably. I mean, the other day, I went up to our athlete cafeteria with some of our freshmen, and I kind of showed them how to load up their box for breakfast. And they were kind of shocked how much they need to be eating.
Hmm.
And one of our corners, he came up and he turned to me and he's just like, Roos, I'm going to be honest, there's no way I'm eating this much. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. I said, I just want you to see how much you should be filling your plate. Whether you get an extra bite than you did yesterday, that's fine. But slowly you're going to be able to eat this much food. And the more you're able to see this much food on your plate, the more you'll be able to eat it. It's all a visualization thing. And especially since training is just starting. Like these guys
Hmm.
are going to be so hungry by the time they're done. So, I mean, these guys are saying, I'm not going to be able to eat this now because for the freshmen, it was kind of a show them the ropes kind of week. They were getting trained, but it wasn't at the high intensity that we're about to hit on Tuesday. So once they hit that high intensity, they're going to be able to eat that food and probably more. Um, but it was just kind of funny to see their faces when I'm showing, like, dude, this is what your plate should look like. And it's one of those regular white foldable trays that you can get, and you can't see any white on the bottom. It's loaded with eggs, bacon, and like some potatoes,
Mm.
and they're just like amazed because I don't think a lot of these guys ever thought like this is how much I need to be eating.
Oh no,
They're
yeah,
eating, but they're just like, this really? I'm like, yeah, really.
yeah. No, I
But
mean,
yeah.
oh, wow. No, I just think that's kind of the crazy part too. Like, if anybody's trying to, like, in anything, in any sport, or in just they're trying to gain muscle at the gym, a lot
Hmm.
of people, immediately they're like, okay, consciously, if I need to be healthy, I need to be eating salads and lean protein or doing these keto vegan diets, when it's like in reality, if you really want to beef up, you have to eat a lot and
Yeah.
continuously too. It's like you have to eat. I remember when I first started working out, I was asking this one really big guy at the gym. I was asking him some advice, like, "Hey, as far as eating wise, like, if I really want to get bigger, what do I need to do?" And he's like, "Listen, you need to eat so much food that your stomach should be hurting every single night before you go to bed." And I
Yeah.
mean, granted, that was a little bit excessive because you don't necessarily
Of
need
course.
you don't
Of
need to
course.
eat to the point where you feel like you're going to die, but he does
No.
have a point in the sense of like, if you really want to get big, you're going to eat to the point where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Wow. And,
it's not something that's fun, I can tell you that, but
oh
it's a
no.
necessity. And if this is truly your goal, like a lot of these, athletes are, their goal is to hit the NFL. And hopefully, God has that opportunity there for them. But they that's part of their journey. They gotta put in the food. They gotta intake. And as much as it's undesirable to eat like that, because I know a lot of guys would probably just rather go out there and just play. They would
Hmm.
probably rather not like to lift, and they'd not like to eat as much as they do. But that's the name of the game if you want to be successful in this sport.
Yeah. And, speaking of lifting too, like how many days, like what are they specifically doing for strength and conditioning, in the off season? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the off season we work out 4 times a week, and then we have a Wednesday, which is like I guess you could say a recovery day. It's kind of more stretching, making sure people are able to stay loose and they're able to recover because, I mean, Tuesday comes around, like we're gonna be hitting it hard. It's go time. It's no turning back. So, I mean, one thing our head strength coach said the other day in our team meeting was, "Look, we made it last year, but I don't want to make it like a 1 year thing. I don't want to give anybody an excuse to say, oh, look, they were a fluke. Like that was a fluke year. They just had, a bunch of seniors. It's like we want to give them a reason to say, shoot, we might have to consider them again.
Hmm.
And I know we're losing a lot to the outside world because I know a lot of people focus on Dez, which don't get me wrong, huge pivotal part of our team. He's an amazing man. He's going to do amazing things in the NFL. But people focus on the few players, but it's a team effort at the end of the day. And there's many people, even the scout team, that puts in the effort. And, we're going to put a good team together again. People are just, they're going to doubt us now. But, we go play Arkansas week 1. So we'll be ready to shock
Yeah.
the world again.
No, I mean, I think definitely being like at an organization like Cincinnati too. Cincinnati's never a program that's going to be considered, on paper, a top elite program.
No,
So I'm sure that has to put a chip on your guys' shoulders to be like, hey, all these people don't think that we can do this. Let's show them that we can.
exactly. Exactly. And especially since, we're not Power Five yet. And I know that's coming up. But, we still have something to prove. And if we can prove it more and more as a G5 school, it's going to set us up for greatness once we hit that
Hmm.
Big 12. Yeah.
And going into that too, I was curious, how is that transition looking for you guys joining the Big 12? I mean, I think obviously that's great because like you said, you're in a Power Five conference.
Mhm.
Like what's kind of the talk around the program? Like, how are you guys looking at that?
To be honest, man, we just look at it like another day. Uh, it was a big news, obviously, when it first got announced. But the biggest thing is not letting it get to our heads of, oh, we're going to be Power Five in a year. We're going to be Power Five in a year. It's going to set us up here better, all that stuff. We try not to listen to the outside noise and just keep rocking with what we have because as long as we're still a G5 school, we still have the world to change. And in their perception of us. And people, they look at a G5 school and they're like, oh, they're successful now. Wait till they play the big boys. Wait till they play the big boys. And, we went and played Bama. We went head to head with them. And obviously, if you look at the score, it looks like a totally different game than if you actually watch the game. It
No,
was
but
a
yeah,
tighter game than
you
I think
played them
people
hard.
thought.
You
We
played them
did.
hard. It's like, I mean, Bama's the toughest organization to play against, like, bar
Yeah.
none. So for you guys, I mean, obviously you showed, especially on the defensive side, that you guys can hang with them. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't think anybody was expecting you guys to win just because that is a monumental feat. But I think that lays the groundwork that not only are you guys capable of doing that, But I believe too, it shows people coming up in the recruiting class like, hey, Cincinnati's on the board. You make the college football playoffs. That's going to help with recruiting. So, I mean, I'm not to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure the hope has got to be that not only were we able to hang with them, but hopefully people will see that and be like, okay, this is an organization that I might want to be a part of if I'm a player.
No, 100%. And I mean, when Coach Fickle got here, this program turned around. I mean, I wasn't here obviously when at the beginning, but the stories that people have been able to tell me just on how they went through the toughest times. I don't want to use some wrong terms, but they put them through hell basically, which rightfully
Mm-hmm.
so. You have to change the culture. You gotta make sure the guys who are there are gonna buy into your system.
Mm-hmm.
And if kids can't, that's fine. It's not a bad thing. It's just when you're trying to change the culture of a program, you got to make sure the guys who are going to be there are the guys who are going to lead your culture 3-4 years down the road. So, and that's what they did. And obviously, man, they've made a monster here so far, and it's going to keep progressing, especially as we hit the Big 12. So I think that's what's going to be exciting is taking that next step, where that takes us in the future.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I know you mentioned it, losing Ritter, that was your guy. He
Yeah.
was a great quarterback. But just curious, have you gotten an insight on Richardson or Hardaway at all? Have you gotten to see them play or seen anything with them?
Hardaway, yes. He came in the weight room. Dude's lanky. He kind of reminds everybody of Ahmad Sauce Gardner. He kind of has that build again, but he's going to be special. He's going to be something special, kind of just like Ahmad was. But we'll see how he plays. I assume he's going to be phenomenal. Everything points to that. The kid's a great kid. Just having a few conversations with him over this first week, he's a great kid, and we're excited to see how he progresses as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have a young cornerback class now, and we have a young quarterback room. So it's going to be fun to see who steps up. Arquan Bush, he's a returning guy. He's going to be the leader
Mm-hmm.
of that squad, and another amazing person. I can't rave enough about that guy. How much I care for that man. But it's going to be fun to watch. I think we're going to have some fun battles this year, especially quarterback, corner, D line. We're going to have some fun ones, and that's why I'm telling you, people may doubt us in the back of their mind, but we have so many battles that it's going to bring the best people forward.
Mm-hmm. And going into that doubt, I mean, if we go back to this last college football season, nobody
Yeah.
predicted Cincinnati to be in the college football playoffs. But you guys had a lot of momentum from the previous season because you guys, were great. But was the entire mentality the whole time to make the college football playoffs? Was that the ultimate goal, like week one?
Yes. So the mentality was do what we can control, focus on that, and the cards will lay as they may. Our goal was to be in a position to play for a national title, and we got that. That was what we were fighting for all year. Everybody knew it. Everybody wanted it. So for us to do that, we had to obviously go undefeated. There's only way we're
Mm-hmm.
going to get it is be the only
Yeah.
undefeated team. If there was a few other scenarios that could have happened that right cards were dealt for us, but you know obviously, as people saw, no one's going to talk about it. We had the smallest loss. And if we want to look at an even bigger picture, the two teams that played in the national title this year were were the last two teams that we lost to. So,
Mm-hmm.
for us, those are wins. Those are
Yeah.
wins. I mean, we've lost two games in the last 2 years, and they both played each other in the national championship this year. So,
Yeah.
we as bad as it is to lose, um, you got to hang your hat to that right there. That we
Yeah.
stood up with the best. So
Oh yeah, and it's like you're laying groundwork. Like you said, if
yeah,
you have the opportunity, especially as an ACC school, to compete with the best, it's like not only is that a great opportunity, but like you said, it's like, okay, this is the groundwork. We are above all this other level of competition. We just need to get past that one hurdle.
exactly.
So I mean, I gotta commend Cincinnati too, because it's like, you know, for me, looking at a program like that, just being not a casual college football fan, but definitely not somebody that follows each team, very closely. It's like, oh, seeing Cincinnati win like against SMU and whatnot. It's like, okay, these are good wins, but you didn't have those expectations. So I think for you guys, it's like, okay, you know that you're so under the radar that you can kind of come out and surprise people. Because I didn't even know that the only two losses you've had in the last 2 years are against the two best teams in
Yeah.
college football. So
Yeah. Right.
no,
It's crazy to think about.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I was just curious too, going back in the conversation, losing Ritter, obviously the expectations, like you said, make the college football playoffs, put us in an opportunity to win a championship. Clearly, you're not in the business of football to lose. You're not going,
No. Yeah.
we hope we win a few games, but no, it doesn't matter if you're the best team or the worst team. You're always trying to win. So how does that mentality apply to, like you said, Hardaway? You have those same expectations of getting back in the college football playoffs, but with a freshman quarterback, that's a lot of expectations and a lot of weight on his shoulders. So how does that approach work to make sure that, yes, these are our goals, we want to get there again, but also not to get him too overworked and panic with those expectations?
Yeah. I think it comes down to making guys feel like everything's available. Every position is available. And so far, it is that. Outside of maybe a few, and that's not my place to say. I could probably have my bet on who would start in certain areas, but every position is available, and our coaches have kind of said that from the beginning. We're restarting every year.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at it as we're restarting, and the best people who play the hardest, the people who practice the hardest, the people who show the most intent with what they do, they're going to be the ones that are going to get to play, and that's what's going to be fun to see. And I think because the expectation for ourselves again is to get back, or to put ourselves in a position to get back. And our team's going to look different this year as expected, but I think it's going to be something fun because again, it's going to be a little different. We have a quarterback battle that's going to go on, and the two guys that are going to be really fighting it out. Again, two great guys. One is a transfer in, and I'm still getting to know him a little bit, but everything I've heard, and he's a great guy, and I've gotten to have some interaction with him too. But it's going to be a fun one to watch there, and they got to take up a huge mantle of stepping in Dez's shoes, but I think both of them can do it,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's just going to come down to who takes that hat first, and
Yeah.
it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be
Oh
truly
no.
fun to see.
Absolutely. I think that's the most beautiful thing about like organized sports, but specifically football too, is that no job is safe, and they know that. Not
Yeah,
only are you competing against other teams, but you're competing for the starting job. I mean, unless you're Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers,
yeah,
like your job is not safe. Every single week you have to show that you are the best fit to start for that position, all the way through the 11 starters on both sides. So
couldn't
I
agree
mean,
more.
I'm just curious too. Is there like do you see that competitiveness amongst the players? Do you see is there ever any chippiness between any of the players that are trying to compete for those starting jobs?
Not yet, but I expect that to happen come OTAs. I think that's where things are going to get fun. I think the weight room next week is going to be so much fun. It's you're going to see guys come in there with something else, another chip on their shoulder, and because of COVID and that extra year that was granted to a lot of players and a lot of guys picking that up and taking it, I think that's going to be very beneficial to us because we have a lot of guys who would have graduated last year if it weren't for that ruling, that we're able to hold on to some captains and some leaders on the team, which I think is going to be good because they're going to be the ones that set the example,
Oh yeah,
um, especially from
absolutely.
last year's team. And they're going to be like, hey, this is how we did it. We have to do it again. That's the goal, is to do it again. And it's gonna be a great time. The intensity, I can already tell you from our head strength coach, Brady Collins. He's got it already ramped up,
Hmm.
and it was discretionary week this week, and it was ramped up. He was ready to go. I know that he's
Yeah.
excited. He's so excited. So
No, that's awesome. And I'm just curious too, like, involving the strength and conditioning. Obviously, they train for a lot of explosive movements, but when you're
mhm.
trying to pack on muscle, so you're trying to pack on 10 pounds to a DB or something, how to like what main workouts? What are they doing specifically to kind of grow in that size?
Yeah, a lot of it will come down to the compound movements because a big muscle is a strong muscle. So you really got to focus on the main compound movements, whether that's the deadlift, the squat, the bench. Those are the
Mm,
main ones that we do. We do not clean. And there's an injury risk. There's a
mm,
higher injury risk when you do that lift, especially for athletes, because if you think about it, when you do a clean, the most common injury sites are a knee and a wrist, and sometimes a shoulder. Well, if you go back and you look at football, what are the most common injuries? A wrist, a shoulder, and a knee. So
yeah.
we don't want to put our guys in a situation where maybe they can tweak something,
Mhm.
before we actually get to the grunt of the work. So we don't do that. We do high pulls. We'll do all that to kind of mimic the power aspect of those lifts, but we will not catch.
Mm,
Um, but if we focus on those and then the accessory movements, working in a little bit higher of a rep range to gain that mass, working that hypertrophy area, that's kind of what we'll see. And we're about to, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not, but I'm pretty sure we are entering a phase of kind of acclimation, and then we'll be jumping into a hypertrophy phase to help these guys put on some more muscle, and then we'll go back to a power and then a strength right before the season starts.
gotcha. And I was just curious too. You mentioned deadlifts, and I've read so many. I like deadlifting personally, but I've
Yeah.
seen so many articles talking about why in athletic training they try to shy away from deadlifts, uh, partially for like lower back injuries.
hmm
But I'm curious, do you guys do like trap bar deadlifts solely, or will you do straight bar deadlifts?
So what I was able to see, this will be my first off season, so I can't say exactly what we're going to do in the off season because I don't have that experience yet. But in the summer, we did do trap bar.
Mhm.
It's more centrally loaded in your body, so it kind of sits more like a squat. Not exactly, but it's more center of your body. Um, but it's an explosive movement if it's done right, and it's ground based, and that's kind of very important because football is a ground based sport.
Oh yeah.
So I know people don't like the conventional as much for athletes because, like you said, it's a lower back risk. But the trap bar kind of evens that out and kind of puts the weight more centrally loaded, and it's not too much bending over
Yeah.
as the traditional. So that's what we do from what I've seen. That's why for me it'll be interesting now to see an off season to see if we do conventional. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, I think that's the one thing too. It's like when you think of deadlift, so many people think it's a pull movement, but people don't really understand that it's really a leg movement. You're driving your
it
leg
is.
to the ground, and so if you're deadlifting and you're only pulling, you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah, you're probably gonna really hurt yourself.
Yeah, that's probably that's
Yeah,
how people hurt their lower backs. But
yeah,
no, I mean,
yeah.
I know when you got trainers like you and people that know what they're doing in the weight room, I'm sure you guys are making sure they're doing it the right way.
Exactly, exactly. But and that's the fun thing too with with the lifting is we do try to make it kind of a competition, but a competition within themselves.
Hmm.
So a lot of the times we have these huge theatrics that our coach Brady he does just to get the guys excited. So we have this huge thing in the summer. It's called Squat Fest. It's our heavy squat day. He goes all out for the guys. We have like a light show in there. We got spotlights on the guys. It gets them amped up. You got to get the energy flowing, and the guys love it. And
Oh
it's little
yeah.
stuff like that really take it up a level because the guys are into it just as much as the coaches.
Oh yeah. No, actually, I love watching those videos. I'll go back and watch those old school weight training videos where it will be specifically like I've seen like University of Arkansas, lots of them. It's like the max day, and the players seem to love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they get so hyped.
Oh yeah.
You got 20 guys
It's a
standing
great day.
around a guy in the squat rack just screaming in his ears. He's trying to get 5 plates for the first time, and I was like, man, I wish
Oh
I had
yeah.
that environment because I just listen to my music and go to the gym. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's kind of the same thing with us. It's like having that environment. I know kind of putting the focus on us coaches. Um, one of the strength coaches, Zach Higgins, he built a strength program for us interns and the other strength coaches to run. So during the year, we were kind of running our own, and we had a big meet day at the end, and it was crazy. We're blasting music, everybody's going crazy. So that was kind of our little atmosphere to kind of go crazy and get hyped, and it's fun. Just like what was it like the seven of us just going crazy like that? It's like imagine the room like a hundred like half the team in one room just going ballistic
Oh
because
yeah.
one guy's about to squat. Like it's unmatched. It's
Oh
unmatched.
yeah. And at that point, it's like if you're the guy squatting, you're like, damn, like I better get this, like,
You have to
because
get it.
how
Oh yeah,
how
you
bad are you
have
gonna
to.
look if all of a sudden it's like, okay, you go for a squat rep, you got 20 big beefy dudes hyping you up, like, at that point, it's like, okay,
Oh yeah,
this weight's going up 100%.
exactly. And then we record it because it's something fun. It's like huge selling point for us that we like to have fun too. And so you got a camera right in front of your face, and now you got to squat with everybody coming around you. It's like you better get it.
Oh
It
yeah.
can't be a oh, I don't get it this time. It's like, no, you have to.
No, yeah.
You
Well,
have to.
the camera works. I'm telling you, I've never failed a lift when I've had a camera on me, just because it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to look bad in front of the camera, you know?
No, 100%. 100%. That's the worst thing too. It's like if you fail at a lift while you're trying to record it, maybe you're going to post it, maybe it's just for yourself, but you're just like, if you fail, you're just like, wow, what the heck was I doing?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you know what? Deleting that immediately.
Yeah, exactly. It's going nowhere.
Oh,
But man,
okay. So backtracking a little bit, um, obviously, as we mentioned, it's a huge accomplishment that Cincinnati made it to the college football
mhm.
playoffs when nobody expected you guys to. So take me through that. Let's say, after the final regular season game, um, you guys are in the playoffs. You're what? You're the 4 seed,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
What was the mentality after that? You're like, okay, we made the playoffs. We're playing Bama. Like what? I'm assuming that the intensity was just ramped up so much because people are like, now we're playing for a championship. What
Yeah.
did that look like going in, like the weeks in preparation before that? How did that look?
Yeah. So, out here it gets cold. So we practice in a big blow up bubble that's over our practice field. So we're in there. We're blasting music during practice. Obviously, it gets lower during certain sections of practice, but the intensity was high. And I can tell you right now, our leaders on the team were insanely focused. Like obviously, they've been focused all year, but it was like it's a new mission, it's a new season. That's how it was looked at, and no one wanted to let this slip by.
Hmm.
Just by like, oh, we got here. Let's just be happy we got here. That was never on anybody's mind.
Mm.
Because if you look at it like that, especially going up against Bama, you go in with a losing attitude.
Yeah. No, definitely. Huh. And what was that feeling like with all that preparation, walking into the stadium? Like this is the moment we're playing against Bama. What was the feeling? What was the anticipation amongst the team?
Oh man, I think everybody was just ready to play.
Hmm.
I'm not, what was it, 3 weeks off? I think everybody, I think at start of week two, everybody was just ready to play.
Yeah.
And I think obviously if it could have been like that, our guys would have said, yes, let's just play a game. But for us, I think it did help us nail some things down, having those extra 2 weeks. But yeah, man, walking onto that field or running, I guess you could say, running onto that field and you're running over the sideline, it's crazy. The crowd, packed stands, AT&T Stadium, man, there's nothing like that stadium over there.
Yeah.
It was a sight, man. And then, you watch as Bama runs out as well. And, right across the field, you see the guy who's debatably the greatest college football coach in the country, maybe ever.
Hmm.
And you're just like, I know our team could win. If we were to play them again, I could probably say we're going to win. I can say that with a lot of confidence that we're going to win. Sadly, things just didn't pan out on that day. But dude, the atmosphere and the experience was unbeatable, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
It was something for a lifetime, man.
Wow. No, I mean, that'd be such a cool, unique experience to see that. Especially, you're playing against Nick Saban's Bama.
Yeah,
It's like I
yeah,
Nick Saban's Bama and Belichick's Patriots are like the same level. It's like
yeah,
this is the best of the best every single year. So, man, that must have been
yeah.
such a cool experience.
It was. And I was trying at the end of the game. I was like, I'm gonna see if I can get up next to Saban and shake his hand, do something. But the reporters the security, they got right up there.
Oh
So I was
yeah.
like, okay,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
not happening.
No.
Which I figured, but
Yeah.
you got to try.
Well, well, you go up
Yeah.
and shake his hand, and be like, "Hey, we'll get you guys next year."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just try to stun him a little bit, like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, get him on his toes, get him ready.
So in the locker room before
Mm.
the game had started and the head coach is giving a speech, did he give one of those like enjoy the moment type speeches, or was he just all in like, no, we're going, like, let's get this win? Like what was he telling his players?
It was definitely let's go get this win.
Hmm.
It was play the football we know how to play. Don't get caught up in the fact of who we're playing or where we're playing. Don't get got to let that go. It was all about play the football we know how to play for your brothers. We've been doing it all year. Fight for your brother. If one person slips, you better pick up his slack.
Hmm.
Kind of like that. It was just a big motivational. Get your head down. Get your head down. You're gonna get dirty.
Hmm.
Let's play. And I do, and obviously, it worked. Our defense, man, was phenomenal. Our offense was good with the scheme that we put up. With a team like Bama, you got to play a little bit more conservative, and that's what we did. There's a few plays that kind of didn't work for us, sadly. That if they went a different way, maybe that would have been huge. But I'm so proud of our guys, just the hard work they put in, man. It was something incredible to see, especially when you have relationships with a lot of these guys. How much effort they put in. It's a sad for two reasons because you lost, but you saw how much these guys put in. It was something like that. But
Hmm.
man, the speech though, I know got the guys fired up. Coach Fick always gets the guys fired up. What was it? Our second game when we were only up by like 10 on like some Division 1 FBS school or something like that. Coach Fick came in and he just went off, and he's just like, what are we doing? This isn't the football we know how to play. And next thing you know, we come out and we put like 40 on the board in one half. And we're just like, that's how we know how to play. Like, we can play like that every week.
Hmm.
Truly can. And I believe we played like that against Bama. Sadly, things just didn't pan out the way we would have liked.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, you have a lot of positives to take away from that moment, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like, with you looking at that, obviously you want to win, but you can take a lot of great things from that and know that, we'll be back. Even though people don't think we'll be, even though we're losing a lot of starters, we built some great things here, and it's only going to get better.
Exactly. This is now we got to look at it as it's a stepping stone.
Hmm.
We took that step, so now the next step is getting to the championship.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully the same step is winning the championship at the same time. And if it's not, we took another step, and then it's just getting back and winning it. So it's a steps game. And I mean, looking over Coach Fickle's career here, it's been steps every year, and it's only going to keep climbing. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. No, I know personally too. It's talking to a lot of people at TCU and just people all around the world, or not the world, but around the country. They were rooting for you guys too because you're the underdogs.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan wasn't. They're normally not a team that makes the college football playoffs. So I was really happy that Michigan was in, but also you guys, because it's like, every single year it's Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and Clemson. It's like it's the same thing over and over again. So
yeah. Sometimes Oklahoma gets in there, and that's their difference. Is Oklahoma in or not this year? It's like it gets old, it gets tiring.
Yeah, no, seriously, especially in the Big 12. It's like, I mean, you went to TCU as well, so you know my pain. It's like, gosh, you hate Oklahoma so much because it's like it's always them. The Big 12 would talk about Oklahoma and Texas. It's like, well, at least Oklahoma's good. Texas, I don't know why.
At least Oklahoma wins some games.
Yeah, I don't know why they still get why Texas gets that clout. It's just they haven't been good in a long time, and I give my brother a hard time because he goes to grad school now. In UT.
Right? Yeah, UT.
And I'm just like, man, I hate UT so much. Y'all are so overrated.
It's just like, dude, every time you talk to your brother now, you just gotta say, "Are you guys back this year?" Or are you gotta wait?
Playoff.
Are you back
next year, right? I know it wasn't the last 10 years, but it's this year, right?
it's this year, right? Yeah. Good.
It's like the Cowboys. The Cowboys and UT. It's like every year's their year. It's like I just want I just want one of them to be like, you know what? let's just play some football and hope for the best. I'd be like, great. But no, they're like, no, listen, Super Bowl bound.
It's our year.
We're going to beat Brady's Bucks. We're going to beat Aaron Rodgers. We're going to beat all. No, you're not. Come
It's
on.
like, no.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm putting money on one of the teams winning the Super Bowl, I'm sorry. You can never bet against Tom Brady, and the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, I don't want to bet against him either. So,
Oh, actually, I want to know
know,
about that. I haven't been keeping up with the Cincinnati Las Vegas score, but I mean, let's be real. They're not going to make the Super Bowl. So what are your predictions for the conference championships and then the Super Bowl?
all right, man. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't paid too much attention to pro football
Now,
like I used
you
to.
focus on college.
Yeah. So if I'm correct, and I probably am not, so this is gonna sound a little embarrassing. I think if I'm forgetting how the brackets lined up because they added that extra team. So I
Yeah.
think the Bucks and the Packers could play in the second round. I think that's how it's lined up. If that happens, in my opinion, that's the conference championship game. Whoever
Yeah,
wins that is winning that.
I agree.
I think other teams will put up a push, but you got the two greatest quarterbacks in the league right there.
Yep.
I mean, they're not going down. Aaron Rodgers is on his last ride, and Tom Brady is just on his mojo thing if he's playing until he's 50 because he still looks like he's 35.
Still looks like he's
plays like it
25.
too.
Dude looks younger than
Yeah,
me.
I know. It makes no sense. I'm like, jeez, dude, okay. But, he's still diming people up. Aaron Rodgers is on a mission to prove everybody, like, hey, Packers can't do it without me. So I think, they're going to pull out of there. I think man, on the other side, man, what is it? Tennessee?
Yeah.
I think that's the other side. Yeah, dude, Tennessee's good. But, man,
think-
I don't know what it is. I just have this feeling that the Patriots are going to do something.
Yeah.
Belichick, Mac Jones is his guy now. Like,
Yeah.
it's making him work. Is it this year? I don't know. Is it next year? Maybe not. But
I don't think it's this year.
I think, yeah. It's probably not this year, but I think they're going to make a push here. I know that might sound crazy to people.
Yeah, they got to
But
get
my
past the
sleeper,
Bills,
not to
though.
make the Super Bowl. They do. But, dude, the Bills, in my opinion, they are not the team they were last year.
No, they definitely aren't.
They took like a huge step back in like week 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of just trying to grind out some wins there. But I think, again, I haven't paid attention to the score too. I know they were up at half for the Bengals, but dude, they're putting something special together over there.
Yeah, no, I really like what Joe Burrow's doing there. I did not think they were going to be a playoff team this year. So the Bengals right now are leading the Raiders 26-16 with about 6 and some change in the fourth. So it's looking like a dub for
they're going to get that.
Co. Yeah, but
hey, that's their first win in like 50, 60 years or something like that.
Yeah,
something
first playoff because
ridiculous.
they would make the playoffs under Marvin Lewis, but they would just always lose in the first round. But you got to give props to
exactly.
Dalton. Got to give love to the TCU.
Yes, dude. Oh my goodness, the amount of arguments I've gotten into with people here in Cincinnati because they crap on our boy, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? He was phenomenal.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. He had games where he wasn't. Yeah, I was like, winning a playoff game at that point, sure. Was Andy Dalton super clutch? No, but he was going to win you games.
Yeah.
He was going to get you in games. He was going to keep you in games. But a playoff game is a team effort. The defense, when Andy Dalton was there, was not good.
No.
So you could technically make the argument that their offense willed them to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, definitely.
They had a better defense. Andy Dalton doesn't have to be a savior that, everybody tries to want. And it's like, okay, maybe if you just had a better defense, you don't need that. But yeah, dude, I think it was literally the other day. One of the new interns, he's a huge Cincinnati fan, and he said, "Oh man, dude, Andy Dalton sucked." And I was like, "Don't say that. Don't say that around me.
Don't talk about my TCU.
Don't talk down about my guy." I was like, goodness. And he's like, wait, why? Why are you so defensive about that? I was like, dude, I went to TCU. I love that guy.
So speaking of that, Andy Dalton, TCU, you working at Cincinnati. Now that you guys are in the Big 12, you're going to be playing a TCU. So
so that's in 2023. So I still got a year to figure my life out. So obviously, one team's paying me a paycheck. The other isn't.
The other
So
one you paid them.
obviously,
So
yeah, I paid them. They took my money, so
yeah.
I can get my revenge now.
So it's kind of like, do you support the team that, or do you support the school that you invested in, or the school that's investing in you?
Invested in you, exactly. And you know what? Obviously, Cincinnati. I'll ride or die with them. If I didn't work for Cincinnati, I'd just hope for a good game,
Yeah.
man.
No,
Um,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
man, I will say this, man. The staff here, Coach Fickle, Coach Brady, all of them, dude, they're amazing. Uh, Especially Coach Brady. He took me under his wing. Coach Fick, he's gotten on me a few times. I can't say he hasn't. In practice, I had to be in charge of the music during practice, and I will say, trying to keep your eye on Coach Brady and Coach Fickle when they both walk around, and they're very opposites. Because at random moments, one of them will tell you to lower it, one of them will tell you to higher it, and you got it head on a swivel. Oh goodness! I think at the beginning it was like maybe once a week I was getting yelled at by Coach Fick
Mm.
in a loving way, just like, dude, turn the music down. And I was like, oh gosh, and it just turned into like a joke at that time. Like he'd even smile and laugh sometimes. You just thought it was funny. Um, he's a great guy. It was just it was funny. So, but it was fun. It was fun. But yeah, man, trying to like Coach Brady's over here to the end zone on the left, Fix on the end zone on the right, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like okay, you're like looking over here. I rarely did I actually get to watch practice, and then when I did, that's when I got in trouble with this dude. I was like missing everything. So, but it was fun.
Oh
It was
yeah.
fun. Coach Fix a great guy.
So, speaking of like passionate head coaches, I was reading this article a while back talking about, I forget the exact title, but a lot of NFL and I know college coaches have like a holdback coach. Basically, their job is to hold the coach back so he doesn't like step on the field during the game, because coaches get so passionate, they get so into the game
Yeah.
that they could just start walking on field, going crazy. Do you have one for Coach Vic, or is he able to contain himself?
We do have one. It's his name is Mitch Marotti. He's the son of one of the most famous strength and conditioning coaches out there, Mickey Marotti. He's at Ohio State, but he's his get back guy, and he's on it. That guy is on it. He's really good. But there's a few games in there where he had to run inside the locker room and figure out our team meal that was going to come before we got on the bus when we were traveling. I'm never gonna forget it. It's like a little bit left in the third. He comes up to me. He's like, Russo, you're taking over. And I'm just like, what? And I'm like, so there I am. I'm Coach Fick's pull back guy, and I'm just like, I'm terrified that like I'm gonna pull him back when like he doesn't need to be pulled back. So I'm just like, anytime he just got semi close to the green, I just kind of gave a little tug on his shirt. I'm like, last thing I need for him to like turn around and like like what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, smack
Like
you
I'm
or
fine.
something.
Yeah, obviously that wouldn't happen, but I'm just like, dude, it's the most heart like racking thing when you're like, dude, I'm like pulling back the head coach. Like, what if like I pull him back? Like, and it's like it doesn't need to be pulled back. So
Yeah.
I'm like on edge there, like focusing my ass off. I don't think I focus that hard in my entire life on something. You're just like can't like do something wrong. When you do it for the head coach, you can't do it wrong. Like that's like the only thing in your mind. Um, but it was fun. It was fun, and Coach Fick and I don't know him obviously too well. Can't say like, oh man, we're best friends or anything. But I do believe, we have a relationship forming, and it's a good one. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome, and
yeah,
I was always been curious about that too, because I thought it was so interesting that there's somebody on staff that's job is literally to make sure the coach doesn't run onto the field. I thought that was
yeah, that's their game day job. They have another job during the week. So for us, he's kind of assistant director of football operations, and he's in charge, and he's does the video stuff for practice. But yeah, during the games, he's the get back guy. Yep, that's his sole job.
yeah. No,
That's
I'm
his sole
assuming you got to
job.
be a strong guy too, just to be able to contain them, because it's like when they get super passionate and stuff, it's like full head of steam, ready to go.
Yeah, Fick is he's very passionate, but that also helps when your players like to know you're on their side too. So
Oh yeah.
they like to see that passion too.
No,
So
absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's a single good head coach who's just like, oh, my player got
whatever.
roughed up.
Yeah.
There should have been a penalty. Whatever. It's like, no, you gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta, you
Exactly.
gotta fight for your boys the way they're fighting for you. So, It's good. It's good. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
obviously, in
exactly.
any winning organization, you don't even need to question that there's a head coach like that.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
So I know we've been talking a lot about, Cincinnati being an underrated program. So I just want to share something with you. So ESPN came out with their early 2022 college football predictions. I don't know if you've seen this, but they have you at 19.
Yeah, that's expected.
So I don't know if you guys have gotten to talk about this at all. I mean, you scroll up a little bit and you got like the usual teams. You got here. Let's see if I can find it. I mean, you got what Cincinnati. Or not, can't even speak. You got like Georgia, Bama. Let's see, who do they have in the top four? It's probably the usual. Oh, wait, we got your brothers, Utah, at number 7.
Yeah, my brother's Utah. Yep, they're a good team over there,
But
man. They got a good young
they
team.
have A&M. They have A&M in the top 4. When A&M, I'm pretty sure they didn't even. Maybe they finished like low in the rankings, but I don't even know if they finished
Yeah,
ranked. And I mean, yeah, Georgia, sure, Ohio State, Bama. That you can understand that. But
yeah. That's
how are you guys looking? How are you guys going to be looking at that? Seeing okay, we're ranked number 4, and they're putting us down at 19. What's the approach with that?
yeah, man. So that hasn't even been brought up because I will say one thing. Even when we were number 8 to start the year, Coach Fick could care less. Now he probably might have a care, obviously in the back of his head, but he's like, I could care less. He's like, we still got to go out there and win games.
Hmm.
We can't really focus too much on where they're going to rank us because if we focus too much on that, we're going to get caught up in that. And
Hmm.
if we get caught up in that, our focus is going to be off of the game.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think it's disrespectful. But knowing how much the media, especially ESPN, puts on like, oh, what are they losing? What are they losing? What are they really gaining?
Yeah.
Of course they're going to do that. They and obviously to an outsider's perspective, and obviously to us, like yeah, we're losing some big names. We are. Like, you can't act like we're not. Can't act like we're losing a lot of guys who didn't do amazing things on the field for us.
Hmm.
We are. We're losing a lot of guys, but at the same time, no one really knows what we have stored. We do. We know what we have stored. We know that there's always guys that step up.
Yeah.
We have some amazing talent on our roster, and like I think they're more worried about if you take out Dez and Ahmad and Kobe, um, Brian Cook, Majay Sanders. You take them out, I don't think you know. Don't get me wrong, the other guys that they list are phenomenal players, so I don't want them if they hear this to think I'm bashing them either. But you know, that's their case right there, because those are the guys that are talked about the most.
Hmm.
That's their case. If you take those out, what's their narrative? But they're not. They're focusing on that part, and I think that's wrong. And I think it's a little disrespectful to the other guys who contributed a lot, but also to the guys that we have behind them. But like I said, man, no one knows what we have except for us.
Yeah.
And 19. To be honest, that's a little better than I thought we were going to be, because I know how much they're going to weigh those losses of those phenomenal players that are leaving.
Hmm.
But I think, like I said, I've said it, I've said it every time. We're gonna put something together that's special, and I think people are gonna be very surprised at what we're able to do next year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, especially too, it's like this is nothing new for you guys. You guys have always been underrated.
Yeah,
So seeing
yeah,
19 coming from 4, having a good game against Bama, for you guys, I'm sure it's like, okay, that's what ESPN, which let's be real, a lot of times they really don't know what they're talking about, says about us.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm just reading their reasoning. Their sole reasoning is, oh, they're losing a lot of their starters, including Ritter, and they're going in a Big 12, a more competitive conference. That's their reasoning.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
so, but like, okay, for you guys, it's like you guys are thinking about, oh no, like what are we gonna do without these players? Oh, we're going into a
yeah,
more competitive field. It's like no, like this college football, guys are gonna play for a few years at most. It's not anything new. That's the whole point of
yeah.
college football. Guys come in, they play, and then they go out. So for them to be like, oh, they're losing a bunch of their starters. It's like the majority of college football programs are. That's how it works.
That's how it works. Yeah, and I mean, the thing is too. Again, like I mentioned before, with the COVID ruling, a lot of those guys were able to be there because of that COVID ruling. So, I mean, we were able to put something really special together. And now some of those guys, again, are able to take their COVID years. So we have both our tight ends returning. We have, we have more names, I think, returning than I think anybody actually expected, but no
Yeah.
one actually knows that yet. It's like both of our star tight ends are returning.
Hmm.
That was not expected.
You guys have
So it
great
wasn't
tight
our
ends
whole O
too.
line is yeah, we do. Oh, we're like a tight end factory, dude.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We got Josiah DeGuara, obviously. We got Kelsey, or Kels. I probably pronounced his name wrong. But I mean, we're a tight end factory, dude.
Hmm.
And both of our tight ends can def easily NFL tight ends. And they're returning, and we're so deep. We're losing Alec Pierce, another great kid, another great guy. But our receiving room is actually very deep. If people watched our games and they were able to see how often our personnel changed at receiver, it's a lot. And it's because we have so many guys that can play
Yeah.
and play high at a high level. So, we're losing a lot to the outside eye. And I'm not going to say we're not, because of the impact those guys had, but we also have a lot in store that nobody really knows yet.
No, absolutely. I mean, you guys, that's the biggest thing is that all these analytics, these media outlets, they're not in the locker rooms. They're not looking at what you guys are
Mm-hmm.
doing. They're not understanding the heart and dedication you guys have. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you can say that about every program because every program, they have guys wanting there to compete and wanting there to win. But same thing for you. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't change the fact that you guys are just as hungry. You're not satisfied with the 4 seed. You want the
No.
championship.
Yeah.
So I just curious. You mentioned it really shortly, and it's the final question I have for you. You mentioned the COVID
Yeah.
protocol, and with Omicron, that kind of came up within the last few months, and a whole host of players amongst all different sports were out with COVID. People were testing positive for COVID left and right. In fact, a little sad story. I was in the finals for fantasy football. My first time being in the finals in
Oh
5
no.
years. And literally all but one of my starting roster had COVID. Well, Lamar Jackson was out with an
For
injury.
other
But
reasons.
yeah, it was like my
Yeah.
starting backs, my starting wide receivers all had COVID. So it
Oh
was clear that
gosh.
the effects of COVID
Yeah.
were very
Of
prominent.
course.
But I guess
They're there.
my question is how would that work? How would you guys handle COVID and COVID tests amongst the team every week?
Yeah, our biggest thing was if symptoms are there, you got to get tested.
Hmm.
You have to take the right precautions at hand. The hard part is, football is a physical sport. It's a hands-on-hand sport. Bodies on bodies. People are hitting people. So if somebody out there has it that people don't know, it's viable to spread. But the biggest thing that we took was we took all the right precautions that we could, and we tried to make sure everybody stayed healthy, and we tried to minimize contact, with, I guess you could say, the outside world. I know that's a weird way to put it, but
Yeah.
especially when we were in Dallas, we tried to enjoy the festivities that the bowl game had for us while still being safe. So that was probably one good thing about our hotel. Not much to do around it. It's kind of out there in the middle of nowhere, Frisco, Texas. So there's not much. You got to really drive. I know. I went. I saw one of my friends out there, but I mean, I had to drive 15 minutes
Mhm.
to go hang out with her. These guys really want to get a 15-minute Uber to go somewhere? No.
Yeah.
Like, they'd rather just stay in the hotel, which is probably best for us. But yeah, man, taking the right precautions. I think for me, personally, I don't want to put my name on the school's opinion or anything, so I'm going to just speak for me personally. What bugged me the most wasn't anything else except for how the college football committee decided to say, hey, if teams can't play because of COVID, they're just disqualified. I think that bugged me.
Hmm.
Not that I thought that'd be an issue for us, um, but I didn't like that. I
Yeah.
didn't like that, given that the 4 teams here. One, it's the first time the playoff picture actually looks a little different. Um, but all 4 teams, I mean, we worked our butts off to get here, and a team can't play because of COVID, and you're just gonna say, okay, you're disqualified. That's a loss. I don't know. I didn't like that. Now, luckily, that didn't have to happen. But for me personally, I didn't like that. I would say, this is a playoff game. You got to reschedule it. You have to. That at least that's my opinion. I'd say you got to reschedule it.
Yeah. College
Because
football play.
I can tell you right now, yeah, it's college football playoff.
Yeah, come on.
You can't just say you're disqualified. Okay, so it's like you just disqualified a team that very well could have won a game.
Yeah.
And then made the championship. So it's like if that's the case, and then it was even there. It's like if 3 teams have COVID, they can't play. The team that doesn't have COVID is the winner. It's like, okay, so the team that's healthy, like, so you're declared the winner because people didn't get sick. Like that's. Do you really want to win a national championship like that?
No, of course not.
Because it always has an asterisk next to it at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, or at least it should. They actually legit count it, but it's like, okay, you're handed a trophy for not playing any game except for, yay, we didn't get COVID. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That bugged me a little bit. Thank God, like, that didn't happen. But I think that's what bugged me most about the COVID, Everybody's doing what they can,
Yeah.
When you have so many teams, 90% or 99.9% vaccinated from staff to players, it's like everybody's doing what they can. So, in my opinion, it was like to have that as kind of a punishment when all 4 teams were over 99% vaccinated. That's just kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Everybody's taking the right precautions. Everybody's doing what they need to do. Everybody's doing what the CDC, all those things people said to do, which is the right thing to do in this case. But now you're going to punish them for things that are out of their hands after taking all the right precautions. I just thought that was wrong. But like I said, thank God it didn't have to happen that way.
Yeah, seriously. And especially, too, it's like for a school like Cincinnati to work so hard to make it to the college football playoffs, if they were to have that stripped, I mean, I'm sure people would be, not just people from Cincinnati, but everywhere would be up in arms. It's like, you just can't do that. You can't just disqualify a team because they're not healthy. If anything, delay it. People would rather wait a week or 2 weeks for a game than have no game at all, especially in the playoffs.
Oh, exactly. And like that was our thing too. And kind of going back to the point I was making, it's like if you had a team that like didn't take any of the precautions, did not care, sure. I mean, like you could make the argument of, well, they didn't do what they needed to do, but all 4 teams, man, we're super high vaccination numbers. Everybody's getting tested. Everybody's wearing masks when they can. Like, don't get me wrong. There's situations where masks weren't worn, but I know some people are making it a big deal when we had like a few guys when we got off the bus at our hotel that weren't wearing a mask. It's like, in my opinion, we were just on a flight together. We were all together the entire week. We were on a flight together. Like, we've all been together. It's not like there's new people joining in. It's like, we've all been together the entire last 3 weeks. Like, personnel hasn't changed. We were all on the bus together. There was no one new around us, even at the hotel when we were walking in. So I know people are making a big deal about, seeing Majay Sanders without a mask on when he was walking into the hotel. And I'm just like, when he's on a bus with the people he's been around for the last 4 years, like, and especially during the COVID time, the last 2 years, like if he was exposed, which he wasn't, but it's like, if he was exposed, it's like, it wasn't from an outside source.
So, speaking of COVID tests, how often did you and the players have to get tested?
So if you were vaccinated, only came down to if you had symptoms. We had like one guy who wasn't vaccinated, I think. I think it was for medical reasons or something. I'm not really sure, because obviously that's his medical stuff. Like, I don't get to know that. But he was tested like at least once a week. At least.
Wow.
But on like, if we were going to travel, he was tested like every day that week and stuff like that. So,
I mean, I guess for medical reasons, it makes sense, but it's like, if it was for personal reasons, at that point, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm tired of getting these COVID tests. I'm just going to, I'm just going to get the vaccines. People can shut up.
Yeah. It's like, I'm done with the pipe shoved up my nose. Like, it's like, sure, whatever. It's like, just at that point, just do it,
Yeah.
But I don't know his situation, but yeah, he was like the only one. So,
hey.
But what sucked was when we were on away games, he had to eat alone and all that stuff. So sad for him, but
man,
it's what it is.
At that point, geez, gotta eat alone. That's gotta be being a part of a team. You gotta eat alone, man. That'd be really cool. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Collin, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I think it's really cool, that you get to work with a great school like Cincinnati, and I know you're going to
Yeah.
continue to grow. So I just want to thank you for coming on.
I appreciate that, man. No, thank you so much for having me. I love doing this, man. So, give me another year. I'd love to come back on.
And maybe next year and come on, we'll be talking about you guys after you win the national championship.
Exactly. You can guarantee that one, man.
All right, mark it here. Mark it here. Colin Russo
Right here, right now,
guaranteed
right now.
Cincinnati is winning the national championship.
Baby, we're winning it. We got all the talent in the world.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again, Colin.
Of course, dude. Thank you again.